Okay, children, welcome to the database lesson of our PHP classes, right? Application development classes. So today our main lesson is going to be database programming, which is our chapter 7. So far we have covered six chapters. In each chapter we have covered very important parts, and the previous 2-3 chapters are closely related with what we're going to do it today, which means the database uh, programming or databases part, which will be closely related. So this, as I told you, the beginning part of this lesson will have tiny discussions on some, what do you call, some concepts maybe. After that, we are going to jump into the practicals, right? Okay, let's get started. If you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask at any time, right? So don't wait until I finish anything explaining. If you have a doubt there and then itself, you ask, right? Okay. So in today's lesson, what we're going to learn is what is a database. We're going to get an understanding of what is database. I think here the third semester students as well as fourth semester students, all of you are here. So fourth semester students, they do have a subject called database management system. And I am not here to teach you a database management system. I am here to help you work with the database. It's like a crash course. You will be getting done really fast. And certain things you might have missed in DBMS, there will be a chance for you to learn and refresh. And sometimes when I'm doing certain things practically, when I'm showing you certain things, there is a better chance that you understand certain concepts that you learned in DBMS as well. Anyways, I am not assuming that you should have learned DBMS subject to continue along with me in this application development subject, because I will give you the ground knowledge which is needed for you to do the application development subject. So don't worry about that, right? Only thing I will explain, only thing I will ask you to do is practice it properly. If you get a problem, if you come across an issue, just talk with me and get it rectified so I can help you with that. Okay. As I told you, when we are building the sample application in this database unit, along with myself, I'm building a sample app in the class with you. You alone have to build a sample application separately along with me. So altogether for application development, we can build 3 applications. One I am building, 2 you are building, 3 assignment we are building. So 3 applications we can build, right? Since junior, senior, you people have done 2 different front ends. That means for web designing subject, you have done 2 different projects or 2 different things. I will be giving a fresh assignment, so you can do the whole assignment, front end, back end, everything you will have to do. But I'm not going to much dig into front end a lot. You are welcome to download a template, customize it, and use for front end. No worries at all. There will be basic pages. I will be asking some pages like about us page, contact us page, which already you had in your previous semester. You can modify that assignment into the assignment that I'm going to give you now, or you can download a template and continue. Either way is fine for you. I am only worried about the back end in this assignment. So front end you can download and use, no worries. Apart from that, mm, front end, back end connection is important, which means once you publish things in the backend, like for example, if you're putting up products or if you are publishing advertisements, or we are doing a online hostel management system, say a person wants to check any rooms available, any resources available. So from the front end, it should be able to you should be able to browse the backend. That connection is important. So when I say the backend building, it's not only building the dashboard of the web application, linking with the front end also included. All right, let's get started with this one. So we're going to learn about what is a database. All right, then what is DBMS? We'll learn about that, database management system. So there's a difference, 2 terms coming. What is database, DBMS? What are database applications? What do you mean by a database application? Normally in interviews, sometimes they might ask you, okay, what is a database and what is a database application? So there are certain things that you need to properly understand. Okay, what software are we using? Okay, so in our course, what are the things that we are using? Let's see, because you might have some experience using Microsoft Access. So that is actually a desktop toy. That's how you usually say. So when it comes to real application development, or when you're building a real software, we can't use Microsoft Access, we have to use a commercial, or we have to use an enterprise type of a database management system, something like MySQL, Microsoft SQL Server, Oracle, or something like that. Some in that caliber we have to use. How to create a database in MariaDB or MySQL, because our choice of database management system is going to be either MariaDB or MySQL. I will tell you the difference between those two and which one we are using. And for Windows users, we are using HeidiSQL anyways. Any Mac users in the class, then you will have to find the alternative solution. You can download MySQL Workbench. That's a software which is alternative software that you can use for HeidiSQL. But if you are a Windows user, no problem. You can go ahead and install HeidiSQL. If you are a Mac user, you will have to find an alternative thing. Uh, Even if you're a Linux user, you also can download and install Workbench, right? Okay. Then how to create tables we will be learning, and introduction to SQL and SQL commands we will be learning. Select type of commands, insert, update, delete. I think you will learn a minimum of nearly 14, maybe 14, 15 SQL commands. Each command you will learn something new, something to do. So it will help you, or it will increase your abilities to do things in your project. So that is how I have planned it. Then finally we can have a question and answer session. So I do not have any what do you call plan to finish this session today itself. I am not rushing through anything. Slowly I'm going to explain. We have another 1.5 hours left, like, so let's slowly get started. Please ask me questions if you do have any questions. Okay, right, let's get started. Right, so what is a database? I strongly recommend you don't read the comments or don't read the content. Let's put it into discussion form. So normally the terms that we have to properly understand, right? So there are three terms that we're going to learn. One is database, database management system, and database applications, or database application. So here the term that we are discussing is a database. Okay, a database. Right, okay, let's get started now here. If I have Microsoft Word here, sorry, in my computer, I don't have Microsoft Access. I don't have it. Right, Microsoft Word is here. So why I took Microsoft Word is, now in Microsoft Word is a software. Okay, it's a word processing software. You know that it's an application software. So if I start a blank document here, right, let's say, right, application development, and I'm going to save this document, right? Let's say file save. So I'm going to browse this, and let me say I'm going to save this one in, there's a folder called because here, online sessions. Let's say the tests. So we go here. I'm going to give a file name for this. Let's say my underscore doc one, my doc one. I'm going to save this one. It is a Word file. You can see docx file. I'm going to save this. And I saved it. So in my computer, if you go to that place, right? So I am already in that drive actually. So let's go to BCAS folder, online sessions. Then if you go to tests folder, you can see, children, that file is existing here. This is a file, right? Likewise, in Microsoft Access, if you create a database, you can save it as a file and you can see that one, right? In Microsoft Access, if you create a file, it will be visible like this. So when we say a database, we are referring to something like a file, or something like that in a computer, stored like that. Actually, in MySQL or Oracle or in Microsoft SQL Server, you won't be able to see that one. I think in Microsoft SQL Server, you're calling them as catalogs. Don't know whether you can separately have the catalog file saved. I'm not aware about Microsoft SQL Server, but in MySQL and all, we don't just work with that. We just work with the servers. So if you, in case, if you want to take your database from one place to another place, all what you do is you migrate the database, which means you will export it. Then once you go to the platform, you will import it. That we are doing at the very last class of this application development when we host this one in our real web server. So with the Sarah, you have a question here? Okay. So we're going to have the last class, we're going to do that part, right? Okay, fine. Let's continue again. So just I wanted to tell you like that, like a file like this, Just keep it in mind. So when we go to the discussion again, so if you take a database, right, database says an organized collection of data. Of course, that's true. It's an organized collection of data. Why we say that is organized collection of data? Because I'm not going to take you to this theory part and all. You know this. Data integrity is there. You have this normalization is there. The third normal form, it has to be there. There should not be any redundancy. There should not be any duplication. There are so many things. So we are talking about a proper normalized database. So that's what we are talking about. So in that particular database, what we have is data will be in a particular organized fashion, or it will be in a very organized manner. It will be available. So what we're going to do is, so we're going to do, when we discuss further, a database can fulfill the data requirement of multiple users. So let's understand that one with this example. I have given a diagram here. So a database can fulfill data requirement because everybody needs data requirement of multiple users. For example, if you have your phone, you have a lot of information in your phone. For example, let's say quickly you want to find someone's what do you call contact details. You quickly go through the contacts and you get to find that one, right? So your phone is a place where everything is stored, like you are accessing through the phone, you are getting that job done. So your phone is fulfilling that uh, data requirements. Let's say you want a, song or you want a sound. So but again, you can get that thing done through your phone, right? Okay, now when we talk about a database, what kind of a requirement the users they have data requirement. For example, I'll tell you a simple example. Most of you might have a bank account, or all of you might have a bank account, and let's say you have a debit card or an ATM card. So you walk into an interview. Let's say you are about to receive a payment. So let's say your client has deposited money for your account, and you want to go to the bank and you want to check their online checking also there. But I just take a simple example. You insert the ATM card, then you select the language, punch the pin, then you select the option like more information, then balance inquiry. Then it'll ask, do you want a receipt for this transaction? Yes or no. You select, then it will show how much balance do you have in your bank account. So that kind of information you are getting, or data that you are getting out of your database. The database is actually, the bank is maintaining the database. So when your client is depositing money to your account is getting updated. Your account is getting updated. So when you insert your ATM and when your card, and when you're checking that updated record details, you are checking through your ATM machine. Okay, so that's a simple data requirement that you are getting fulfilled through a ATM. That's one thing, right? Right. So when you come to a bank, in the bank, there will be other users actually. So we talked about a customer. Now you can simply insert an ATM card and you can check your balance. A manager will be there. A teleoperators means people who work in a counter in a bank. Those are the people who work in a counter, and they're the people who will be mainly working with customers. Okay. So let's say you want to withdraw a lump amount like around, let's say, 2 million rupees. Like, so normally you can't do that through you cannot do that one through ATM. So you will walk into the bank, you will fill a slip with your bank book. Let's say you give passbook, you give that to the teller operator. First thing that they will do is they will check the slip, then they will enter the account number that you have entered in the slip in the system. They will check whether it is a valid account, and with the details of your passbook, whether it is matching. So once they do that, so to do that, they will search your account, right? So there will be a screen, they will be entering your account number through your bank account number. Your account details get searched and it is displayed. So they will cross check. After that, what they will be doing is they will be selecting a transaction type. Let's say withdraw, then they will punch in the number 2 million. And when the cash comes out, they will count it properly 2-3 times. Then they will hand over the amount to you. They will hand over the amount to you, and they will update the passbook as well, and they will hand over to you that the transaction is done. So if you take a teller operator, they have more access to the data in the database than a customer does. But their access level, or the amount of, what do you call, the amount of um, privilege, or the amount of accessibility towards the data is also limited. Again, if you go to a bank manager, let's say the bank manager, normally people who are in a superior level of the management, they want very summarized information, like not very detailed one, but summarized one. For example, they want to see a count of how many new bank accounts were opened last month. For this year, how many bank accounts were opened, which was the month highest number of bank accounts were opened last month, how much total loans we have lended, out of the total loan lended, how much amount that we have collected for the last previous month, which is March. So likewise, they might have this, or they will be accessing some summarized information from the database table or databases. This is another data requirement that the bank manager, they will be printing some types of reports, right? So those kind of things also can be get done through the database, bank database. Then the administrator, if you take an administrator will have the access to all the areas of a database. So he will be having he'll be like the super user of the system. So they will have every access to everything. Mainly they will be helping with the maintenance of the system. So this administrator will have more privilege than any other user. So their requirements will be again uh, different from other users. So if I read in the two sentences once again, on an it should be an organized collection of data. That's one. Number two, a database can fulfill the data requirement of multiple users. Those are the main two things about a database. So that's having said, is that concept properly understood, children? If it understood, please raise your hand. Okay, let's continue. Right. So having a small understanding of database, so we will see what is a database management system. Okay, what is it? That is why I just took this Microsoft Word here, children. If you take Microsoft Word is the software which allows us to create these Word documents. There are different types of Word documents that you can create. So here, this is a blank document. I just typed 2 words. You can create reports. You can create a lot of other things. Types of, if you go to File New, so there are different types of predefined templates, nice ones available. You can even certificates can be done, I think. So you can download and do those things, right? Okay. So this is the software which allows you to do that. This software allows you to do that. Now, if you see again, this file which I saved, this is just a file which I created from Microsoft Word. This is not only the file I will have in my computer. Likewise, if you take a database management system, if you take side by side, children, so this is the Microsoft Word software. This is the file I have created. Again, in a database management system, database is what we say this one, a file-like thing. Don't confine yourself to just a file, but a file-like thing. Okay, something like that. But the software which allows you to create, manipulate, maintain, delete, export, import, everything, set privileges, all these things, that there's a software to do that. Databases need to be get created, need to be maintained. So there is a software needed to do that. So the software that we are using to do that is called a database management system. Database management system. So first two words are same, database, that we already discussed. What's a database is. So second two terms, management system. It's a software. So namely, you can have Microsoft SQL Server, Oracle, MySQL, MariaDB, all these kind of things are databases, right? So here, DBMS is a software designed to define, manipulate, store, retrieve, and manage data in a database. All these activities we can do using our database management system. Though you are working with your PHP scripts, though you are writing SQL commands and doing it using your web server, and you are writing SQL commands and all, still in the backend, a database management system, which is a MySQL database server or a MariaDB server, will be helping you to do that work for you, right? So it's not just a database, it's a database management system. So correct terms have to be used. Then examples have been already given. You can see one is MySQL, because I took MySQL there because that is what we're going to study. And there's a difference between MySQL and MariaDB. We will discuss that also. There's another one called PostgreSQL, Microsoft Access, which is a desktop toy, by the way. Don't use that one, because if you're wondering why I always say that, because uh, I think there's a message. Right. Okay. So likewise, the list continues. Microsoft Access, why I say it's a desktop toy, because children, I don't know whether in database management system you learned something called concurrent access. Did you learn? HND 48 people can confirm on this. You are learning DBMS, I guess. Did you learn? Zain is there, right? Zain is there, yes. Did you learn, Puta?
Sir, sir, what's
Uh,
the word, sir?
it's called concurrent access. Did you learn something called concurrent access?
Yeah. I'm familiar with that, but can't
You didn't
remember.
learn it there, right? I'll explain it what it is. So for the juniors also they can understand. Concurrent access means, let's assume there is a resource is there. Let's say this is an icon, this is a file. Uh, this resource is necessary, or this resource can be accessed by multiple places. It can be accessed by multiple places. So each connection is known as one access, right? At a given time, Microsoft Access can handle only 30, okay, 30 concurrent access. So beyond that one, it will simply stuck. So if you take a web application, in a web there is no restriction. There can be millions of access per second. For example, if you take Google, per second how many hits will be there for the website? So there'll be millions of hits. If you take eBay, there are millions of hits. Hits means people are browsing it. So at a given time, Microsoft Access can handle only 30 concurrent access. So therefore, we don't consider that one as a proper database. We consider that one as a desktop toy, right? So when it comes to MySQL server or Microsoft SQL server, it can handle 1 million transactions, or 1 million accesses can be done within a given time. So 1 million, right? So which is a huge amount. So that is how Microsoft SQL server versus Microsoft Access, if you compare 30 into 1 million concurrent accesses. That's why we say it's a desktop toy. Don't use for your commercial or real applications. Okay. So you have the other things, SQL Server. When you say SQL Server, it's Microsoft SQL Server, MS SQL Server, FileMaker or FileMaker. Oracle is a very popular. World's most of the databases are built using Oracle. Please remember that 75% of the databases are used using Oracle. RDBMS, DBase, these are old ones. Clipper, old ones. FoxPro, old ones. These are very old ones. DBase, Clipper, and FoxPro. You can just in Google and see DBS and all. If you search, you will just get this DOS environment and all. But you can do a lot of things. You can create databases. You can create reports. A lot of things can be done. That is how people were living with earlier, before the luxury they had with Windows operating system and GUI. All right, let's move on to the next part. So if you take the third word is what is the database application. So we are building an application, or application development is what we are learning, right? So, when we started the chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, we were not working even with the backend. We were just using some files and saving and running them and seeing the output. Only in the previous week, which was when we were learning about HTML forms only, we linked the front end and back end. Actually, we got some information from front end to back end, and we did a tiny processing. Okay. Now only we are starting databases, and once we start databases, now don't you think that once we finish building an application, let's say we build a real estate business, or we build an e-commerce system where products can be sold, don't you think this application, placing an order, searching for product, checking your cart, right? So all these things can be built, application can be built, but what the order the user does, details of the products, we have to store these things, we have to retrieve these things. All these things have to be kept on a database. So always remember, when we build an application, part of the application is going to be our database. Our database is going to be part of our application, that the software application that we are building is going to be a part of it. For example, if we take a hospital management system, a hostel management system, information student management system, examination management system, inventory control system, or if it is an e-commerce website, if you take any of these applications, all these things are a type of database application. Please understand that term. Even in BCS, this is asked as a question also to describe for software engineers. Database application means what? Okay, so make sure when in an assignment, if they ask you to build a database, what you build is different from ask you to build a database application, then they're asking you to build a database as well as they're asking you to build the interface and connect them both together and get the whole thing done. Please make sure you understand both terms properly. So we learned about the database management system. Now we are learning about database application. So the description says a database application is a computer program whose primary purpose, that means the main purpose, is entering and retrieving information from a computerized database, right? So database application. So through an interface, you give the information to the database, retrieve the information back from the database and display it on the screen. Early examples of database applications were accounting systems and airline reservation systems. Those are old ones. Nowadays, you have these inventory control systems and so on and so forth. If you go to a channeling center, let's say per day, a specialist doctor is there. He will consult. He will see only, let's say, 25 patients. Let's say in the reception they are taking the people's numbers. That means you are booking a reservation. So each time a person does a reservation, one count is gone, right? So it is getting this updated in the database. So if 5 people does reservations, only another 20 reservations left. A person calls over the phone and asks whether I can make an appointment with the doctor. Then you can quickly check with the system and ask, yes, if you can make the payment, I can do the booking. So there is a reservation available, we can make it. So your number will be number 6. These are common everyday things, right? Of course, every private hospital is not using this kind of a computerized system. That also I should mention. So if you go to certain certain what do you call places, they are having on a CR book each day. There is a page like for the doctor. They will write down the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. When they are paying and taking the number, or when they are booking over the phone, they will simply put the number there. And once the person comes to the counter, they will get the money and they will issue the number or the token. So is that clear, children, what I mentioned now? Take a small feedback.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Right. That small pause comes because I'm pausing and recording it. Right. Now, children, what software are we using? So these are the main 2 software that we're going to use in our computer. So there we go. So we have, though it marks as MySQL, actually the one what we are using is the MariaDB. We are using the MariaDB as well as the MySQL database, right? So these are the main 2 things that we need to work with. So one is MariaDB we need, and the other one is HeidiSQL, right? HeidiSQL. If you don't have, you can get it installed. It won't even take 5 minutes to download. It's a tiny software. HeidiSQL I have already installed here. I'll just show you the interface. It's coming to my other screen. I'll pull it here, right? Okay. So since I like dark screen, I have put this theme. So this we will be learning. I will be teaching you how to do this one. So once you open the software, if your your MySQL server is running, means your interface will be ready like this. I will show you how to work this with this one and manage your databases. These are some of my databases in my computer. Your one will be different than my one. So this is currently I'm working with the project, right? So what I'm doing, it's a commercial application, so I can't show you all the details about the database design, how I done. Okay, no worries, because you're my students. Let me show you the structure of that also. It will be useful for you. Before, I told you, once a customer asks you to build something, don't build it at once. So what I did is, first of all, I did the database design in a tool called DIA Portable. I have the tool. So this is the database design I did, children, first. Okay, this is the first thing properly you have to do. You have to have the understanding of it. And I don't do this ER diagrams and all. Directly I went from the tables and the relationship between the tables. So you can, certain ones you can see one-to-many relationships also there. So this is what I built first, right? So the first of all, this is an inquiry management system. So these are the things which is coming to the application. So it's a database design. First you do this is a design I do. After I did this design, what I did is I created this database. Then I created these database tables. These are the ones that you saw as diagrams there. So these are the ones I have built, exactly the data types, exactly the field names, everything is same as my design. So once my design is very properly done only, I started doing this one. So to avoid any future problems, I did it like that. So we also have to do it very nicely, because when you're doing your assignment, you will be showing the ER diagram to me first. Once I say the ER diagram and the relationships and all the things are correct, you can start building your apps, right? Okay. Right, children, then let's move on. So this is the software that you need. Let's take a quick feedback. Let me pause the recording. Right, let's get started. So what software are we using? HDSQL and MariaDB. So let's talk about the MariaDB for a while, a little bit. So after that, other things we will talk. Now, if you take, children, usually what we have is MySQL. MySQL was developed by developers, community developed. And the thing is, 1 second, children. Okay, children, sorry about that interruption. Let's continue. What I was saying is, by the time earlier they were introduced, MySQL was developed as a community software, just like Java or PHP. It was developed like so many developers involved in this one, and they got it developed. Now, since MySQL software has been, or that shares have been purchased by Oracle company, there is a, I don't know whether it's true or not, but it's going to be not free in future. So that means the people have put a lot of effort and got it developed for free. Now, after some time, it might not get free. So that's the problem. So the people who really worked for this one, worked for MySQL to building, they took the core of that and they have released it under another name called MariaDB. So which is literally the same thing that we are saying. So MySQL. So all the features that we have. So in future, if you want to work with the open source version of this MySQL, this is what we're going to work with, MariaDB. Okay, so it's not going to be an issue for you as developer. If you take a country like America or UK or even Middle East, where they are strongly practicing the privacy of the software, which means the piracy and all, it's a serious offense in those countries. Where in Sri Lanka, it's not totally implemented yet. So therefore, so using, if you are having a development firm, even if you are a freelancer, you are doing development, so you will have to spend a lot of money on purchasing this copyrighted or proprietary software like MySQL in future. That's the reason they are going to make it open source, so that if you are a developer or a upcoming entrepreneur, so without wasting any money on this license fee, you can use PHP, that's free. You can use MariaDB, that's free. You can use XAMPP software, that is totally free. Apache Web Server, that is totally free. Browsers are there, totally free to download. You're good to go, right? That's the reason, right? All right, let's walk on the next one. You can put your hands down, children. Yeah. The next one that we will be using is a web browser. So this we've been using from the day one itself, application development. Of course, we need a browser. Through that browser, we're going to work with. That's what we need. So next one is going to be a small practical part. That's why I asked you to get it installed. So how to create a database, right? How to create a database. Little while ago, we learned what is the database. So how to create a database, right? So there are two ways that we can do with HDSQL, without HDSQL. Without HDSQL also you can do, which is like this. I don't want you to do it. I'll just show you once, just watch this. You can just type localhost, and if you go to your web, okay, I'm sorry. If you go to your XAMPP, okay, I think you go to dashboard. You go to dashboard like this. Usually it goes like that when you type localhost, and there's an option called phpMyAdmin. If you click on this, it will give you an interface, a web interface, depending on the speed. So it's pretty slower compared to HDSQL, right? It gives you, it's a bit heavy, that's why it runs with JavaScript and all. This interface comes through this interface, just like in HDSQL, you can manage your database. So this visual tool is helping you to work with your MySQL or MariaDB database, right? Database. So the database management system has this front end for you. So you can do that, right? So here it shows the databases. So if I hit on this DB part, you can see all the other databases that I'm having under them. DB underscore whatever I'm creating, I have it. So we shall be creating a database first, then we will be creating tables. Two things I'm going to show you: first the database, then the table. After that, what we're going to do is we're going to erase that part and we will be creating it in HDSQL, which you will do it along with me, right? So this one I don't want you to do it. So when you come to this interface, there are certain things that is important anyways. We will do that, right? So first thing is you could click on database if you are not in that tab, databases, right? So these are the available databases and it's simply straightforward, create database, and there's a collation. I'll tell you what it is. So database is going to be db underscore 4850. Okay, db 4850, that's going to be my database. Then collation, which is character encoding system. So there are a lot of encoding systems are available. We are specifically using UTF-8 General CI. UTF-8 General CI, which supports all the international languages. And if you are specifically doing something like Myanmar language, I don't know, but Polish, Sinhala is also there. Then of course, you can go for any other German, Japanese, all those kind of things can be done, right? I don't want to do any of those things. I'm going to go for General CI, right? We're going to choose this. Then we're going to click create button, right? Once it's done, so it says here create table, because a database is a collection of tables, right? A database is a collection of tables. I did not put all those information here to make it complex, so I didn't put all those information, right? If you really want, I can explain you what is a database is. A database is a collection of related table. A table is a collection of records. A record is a collection of related columns. A column is a collection of characters. One character is a collection of 8 bits. That's the data organization hierarchy, right? So this is not very important, but all of you have done DDD. Sorry, so it's enough. Let's create a table. Actually, we can give a name for the table. We can keep this one simple. I have not decided what kind of application to do yet. Let's say we create a student. Always use for tables singular, names singular, student. So it says 4 columns. So what type of data that you want to store? Student number, name, address, contact number, gender, date of birth, maybe like a lot of information, email address, all those kind of things you can put, right? Now for the time being we have 4, that's fine. Then we click on go button. Even the assignment, you can do it with this one. You don't actually need HDSQL, but using HDSQL is much easy, right? Okay, my interface looks like this. Your interface might be different depending on the screen resolution and all. It'll be different. So if you have too much of conjuncture like that, it'll be like that. It is not responsive anyway, right? Now what I'm going to do is, it says student and it says add 1 columns. Okay, I'm going to add 1 column. So it says name of the column, type of the column, and length and other things. I will slowly explain you. Let's type STDNO, student number. I like all simple letters, children. That's my style. If you don't like, you can use any other, but I strongly recommend not to use total capital letters, right? Okay. Student number. What type of data am I going to store? Let's say student number is going to get auto generated. So I'm going to choose integer data type. A lot of other data types are there. These data types belong to MariaDB data types. Please remember that this is nothing to do with Java or PHP data types. Okay, this is database type. Then length, no need to give here length. It supports a millions of values. Default, you can try. There's nothing to do here. Collation, already we have set it, no need to change. Attributes, nothing to change. Do you support null? Null means when you're adding a record, can that student number be blank? If it is so, you can say like that. For example, you are filling a record where email address is there, but it's not important. So if you say null, that means without giving that value, a record can be saved. If you say it can't be not, if it is not null, that means definitely you have to give a value. Next one, it says index. This is important. I think all of you know what is the primary key and what is the foreign key. primary key means if you have a table, multiple columns will be there in a table. That table will have certain columns will have unique records. For example, if a column is there which is having identity card number, national ID card number will be a unique value. Or if you have an email address will be a unique value. Okay, so I'm going to use this student number as primary. That's it. So it's asking other choices. This is a new one. They have an update done here. So primary student number size, nothing I'm going to give, right? So let's say, okay, we have set it as primary. Early it was not asking, that's why I told you. Then AI stands for automatic increment, or it says auto increment. That means first record will be added 1, next record will automatically come 2. Let's say you have added 4,000 records. When you are adding the next record, 4001 will automatically come. So auto increment, yes, you should give this. If you don't give, it won't work. If you are giving any comments, you can give that. The other things I'm not going to give everything, right? So those are the main things. So type, for text values we will be giving length, and not null we can specify. If it is the primary key, we can specify that, and auto increment if need we can give. Right, next one we will give the name. Type of name will be vacha or text you can give. Vacha is a variable length, text is not variable length. So I'm going to give vacha, variable character. So let's say we can store up to 100. If you have a huge name, let's say 100. So if you like, you can give a default value, or name, if you like, you can give a value given, right? I'm not going to give a name there, right? So other things, I'm not going to fill anything, just I'm going to leave blank. Next time I'm going to say address. That's also vacha. I will give 150 for address. Then another one I can give address name will say mobile number, contact number. So contact number, data type, that also vacha, around let's say 12 or 20 is enough. Contact number can be blank. Sorry. It's not. It can be blank if you want. And let's say you want to add another column here, right? So I think it's possible. Name one, add one column here. See, or two columns. You can put 2. Let's say go. Then this will be remaining, and 2 columns will come. See, another 2 columns got added. So I'm going to add email, and I'm going to add birth year. So let's say year born, right? So email, it's going to be again vacha, and email can go up to 150. It can be null. Contact number cannot be null. Okay, we'll say email address can be null. Born, year born, it could be an integer, no problem. Length not necessary. It can't be blank, so it should be filled. So once you have set these things, once you have set all these things, what you next do is, if you like, you can type a comment for the table, master table for student records. Okay, then don't change these engines and all, it won't work properly. Simply what you do is, you can click on save button. Okay, you can click on save button. So if things were done properly, no error messages, it gets created, your table is created, your structure of the table is shown here, and the details are here, right? You can see. So the structure is shown here. So if you go to, there's an option called browse, I guess. If you go to browse, structure, there's here the table columns only available. There are no records. Okay, there are no records. So if you like to add a record, you can go to insert. We will add just one record for the sake, right? So I'm not going to type the student number. I'm going to leave blank. Name, let's type John Doe. So let's type John Doe there. Address, let's type Candy. Contact number, note 81 dash, just add a number. Email address, Joe VFX. 444@gmail.com. Born year, let's say 1991. Right, that's enough. Right, then you hit go button, or if you wish to add another record, you can keep on filling it. I'm not interested in filling another record. Just I'm going to click go button. See, this student number will be automatically added. Right, that got added. Right, that got added. Internally, everything will be done using SQL commands, and we will be also seeing this insert into commands. I will teach you this, don't worry. You can write some SQL commands and view them as well, no worries. So you can just again go to browse. Now if you go to browse, now it is showing under the column headings, it is showing the values. So student number is 1, name is John Doe, address, contact number, email, and year born. So those are the data values that we have, right? Okay, I'll give you around 2-3 minutes just to have an idea. Okay, first of all that I'll post the video. Now children, we're going to do the same thing using HDSQL. So here I have installed my one. My version may be different than your version because I have installed maybe a couple of months back. I just update it anyway, but we'll see. So your one will not have a session like this. Simply a session is, using this tool, you can get connected yourself to different databases, or you can get yourself connected to different database servers. Let's say you are a database administrator, and this is at this lockdown period, you're at home, and let's say several businesses, the database is in the cloud. Let's say that cloud it means it's online. And by just giving the IP address through this one, you can just get connected to your database server and do all the work remotely from your home, right? That's simple. So that tool will help you, right? This MySQL also, you can buy those versions. Like when you're buying your package, you have to extra pay and buy that facility. So your database also becomes online available. Right? What I mean is, from your desktop application, you can directly get it connected to your database application, right? Okay. Uh, Here, children, I'm going to delete my session, right? I'm going to delete my session. Yeah. So your screen will look much more like my one now. So if you get yourself started, right? So your one will look like this. First thing that we need to do is we need to create a new session, right? So simply hit on the new button. So it says unnamed. You can give your computer, because I'm going to say Nuzrat-PC. If I'm doing it in my laptop, I will type Nuzrat-lab, right? Likewise, right? Even for mobile phones, there are servers can be installed. If you're interested in, ask me and I'll tell you later. You can make your mobile phone as a database server, and you can get it connected and do, right? There was an app I saw earlier, right? Then after giving this name, what you do is you have to fill this information. Here you can see network type. Correctly, it has taken MariaDB or MySQL. Do not change this. This is what we are doing it. So if you are working with any other type of thing, you can choose. So Microsoft SQL Server also you can use. I'm not going to do that. Then host name, the default host name can be localhost. You can type localhost, or if you know the PC name here, let's say Nuzrat-PC is the name of this computer, you can type that, or else any computer's default IP address is 127.0.0.1. That's the default IP address. So you can do that one as well. So I'm not going to change this one. In your one also, this could be the same. This will be the same. Then it will ask username. Built-in administrator username, that means database administrator username or super user administrator username, is root. So root has all the privileges, and by default, it does not have a password. So actually what you need to do is you have to just type the name of the session, then say open. That's all. All the other things will take. Your port numbers and all will automatically come unless you have manually changed the port number. Then you will have to change it. I'm not going to change anything. See, then I'm going to say, simply I'm going to say open. Then that gets saved and my interface will open like this. So can you do that part quickly? And once you come here, once you come to this screen, can you raise your hand? I'll post the recording. Okay, it's getting recorded again. Now children, once you come here, right, once you come here, your interface will be somewhat different from my one. First thing I'm going to do is the previous database I just created now. I'm going to erase this database. I will right click on this. I will simply select, there's no command called delete. There's a command called drop. Drop is a SQL command, actually is used to erase a database. So once you drop a database, or you can even drop tables, If you drop a database or if you drop a table, there is no going back. It is not a thing that you can reverse. That's what it says. Drop database. Warning, you will lose all objects in database. So are you sure? Yes. That's gone. So now you can't do this. You can't do this, right? Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add a database first, right? So if you see, if your theme is different, the icons may be different, children. I'm using this one, so it's easy on my eyes. That's why I'm using this one. If I click on a database, the existing one, you will see next to these cylinders, there will be a tick mark will come, showing that that database is active. That's what it. I don't know whether you can see that in your common one. I think you will have something like PHP MyAdmin. Then you will have something like I think you will have another database. Information schema will be there in your database. If you click on that, it gets started. So do not do any changes to this information schema or what do you call this PHP MyAdmin things, performance schema. If you're going to do any change to them, your database next time will not work. Okay, please do not do any change to them. Right. What we are interested in, we are interested in the server here. Just go to the name of your a session that you gave, right? So in the there, select that, and then you right click on that. Right? Are you doing it with me? Is it difficult to do? Follow me and do it. One of you can open the mic and tell me.
No, sir. We can do it.
While I'm saying, is it possible to do?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then you right click there, then you choose new, then choose database. Okay, very simple. Then type db underscore 4850. 4850, that is the database name. Then collation, you know what to give, UTF-8 general underscore CI. So that is at the very bottom. UTF-8 general CI. I found it, general CI. Do not do anything else, okay? General CI, UTF-8. That's all. So server's default, do not change anything else. Then hit OK button. So once you hit OK button, you might not see much differences. Your screen might be different from my one. Don't worry at all. Don't worry at all. We will fix that. To your left side. Okay. How many of you have done this? Raise your hand. Create it properly. Now what you need to do is you have to make the active database DB4850. So you just click this and there's a plus mark. If you click, there is nothing coming because there are no tables. A database is collection of related tables. So actually our database has no tables there. So we need to create the database, right? Sorry, we have created the database. We have to create tables there. For practicing purpose, we will create a student database table. We can create, I will discuss with you and what type of app we will develop. And in that one, we will do, right click on this. All of you do that, right click on that, choose create new, then go to table, right click on the database name, right click on that, then create new, then table. Once you choose that, very simple here. It's very simple how we're going to do. There are first column where there's a first box saying name, that is the table name. So no spaces, no symbols, no numbers, please. So just type student, right? Simple letters. And if you like, you can give a comment. I'm just typing student master table. That is enough, student master table. Now what you do is next is you will be simply clicking the add button here. So when you add like this, one column is getting added and you can fill it, then you can add another column. If you like to add several columns at once, then you like to fill, or one by one, it is up to you. Whatever the style that you like, you can do it. I usually add 4 or 5 columns, then fill them. If not enough, I will add more. So I'm going to add 4 columns first. Then I'm going to go to the first one. You can simply double click, then it will get selected. Or you can press F2 and you can not change that also. I simply double click and do it, right? So I'm going to type here std underscore number, student number. I'm sorry, I can't increase the font here. Then next one, I'll type name. Third one, I'll type address. I'm not filling everything, just address. Then we'll say contact number, then email address and born year, right? So email and born year. Please don't use the word born. Sorry, year. Okay, it will not accept it. Born year. So you can see the data type for all the records are integer, which is not should be like that. It should be changing. So student number, you can click this one, right? So sometimes once you click once, it won't come. So click again. So once this drops down, once this drops down, select integer. If it is already integer, no need to change for student number. Then length, don't give because it's integer. Whether it is unsigned, if it is unsigned, only positive numbers are available. So we don't need this. Then what we do is allow null, don't do that. So make sure take them off except for email address. For all the other things I'm saying allow null, I'm not allowing it, right? Then zero fill also I'm not going to give. I'm not quite sure about what is this zero fill, right? So here default value, once you click, so for some parts you can give as what do you call a custom value you can give. We will use this one in a real application later. So default value I'm not going to use any here. Comment collation, automatic increment I need to do. Yeah, in default option, in default column itself, you have the auto increment. That is a thing that you need to note down, children, because separately they have not given auto increment as a column. They have simply given under default column, right? So you choose auto increment, say okay, then that's fine. We will be making this one primary key later. That's the first one I did, the auto increment. So that's done. Then I will right click here. Watch this. I will right click here. Then I will select create new index. In that one, I can choose what do you call for primary. That's what I can do. Foreign keys and all from here you can create. I'm not going to do that now. So just right clicked on it and I just said create index, then primary. Again, I can't do that, right? So once that's done, I'm going to go to the next one, name. So data type I'm going to change. Simply what you do is you have to go to select this Vacha at the bottom. So you can scroll it down, or I will just click this, then press V on the keyboard. Automatically it will go there. So huge amount of text can be stored there. For name, we will give about 100. Then for address, you can give again Vacha, and 150 will do. Contact number, Vacha, 20 will do. Email address, Vacha, maybe 150. Born year, integer will be fine. So other things, I'm not giving any default values or anything else. This looks fine for me. So if you have already created this one, all these things as I did, you can simply click the save button. So that is how you create a database. Then you create a table. Okay, is that understood? Is it clearly understood?
Yes, I understood.
Okay, right,
Yes.
fine. Right.
Understood, sir.
All right. I'm going to give you a quick exercise. You will do it. All right. Resume recording. Now, here, children. Now I'm just setting this one. I don't need to set it as a task. I told you, I want you to go to Edmodo. Not now. In the Edmodo, once the class finishes, in the Edmodo, I just put a note like this for the students. You will upload this one now. A screenshot of your HDSQL. Then you will upload this screenshot, which is this one. This one you will upload without the data, the structure of the table that you have created. You will take you don't have to take a this much big, make it small, but everything visible properly. I think you can go to options and change the font sizes, then take a screenshot and upload this. I just need to see everyone's work. Okay, here I have 6 students, all the 6 screenshots I need to see. Right, all of you done this? Right, now what we do is your student table is ready, and in your computer you have student table and customer table, both you have, no worries. When you want to add records to this, after you click save, once you want to add records to this, you need to select the data tab, right? Once you choose the data tab, then this will be blank because in the data there is no data I have added. So when you want to add the data, you can either press the insert key on your keyboard, or you can press the insert button here, insert row into table. So you can click either way is fine. Then what you do is you can start typing the values, which will you will never do this one, because once you connect this to the front end, we will be typing the values in the front end. We will be saving that in the back end. That's what we're going to do. So we're going to type the value here. So let's say John Doe. Address, we will type Candy. Contact number, not 81. Right. So email. Then born year 1998. So if you want, you can make it big like this and you can view it. Right. So it's a small tool. It doesn't kill a lot of memory of your computer. It doesn't take a lot of processing power also. It's very simple. What it simply does is the operations that you visually do here by right clicking, typing, pressing buttons, it converts those things into SQL commands here and get it executed against the MariaDB MySQL server and gets the job done for you. So you don't have to worry about writing these complex SQL commands. It will write the SQL commands for you. Right. So can you add one record like I did now, but don't type the student number. Other things you add, leave the student number and fill the values and say raise the hand. Once you're done, raise the hand. Two people have already raised their hands. Nice. I'll post the recording. Right. Okay, let's proceed. Right. So we will see what else left on the slide. So the next part that we need to learn is introduction to SQL commands. Okay, SQL commands. Then we can proceed with this part. Okay, SQL commands. Right. Okay. Right. It's recording now. Now, this next slide is introduction to SQL, because children, when when we build our GUI program or GUI interface for the web part, it's that we're going to build using HTML, CSS, JavaScript, the front end, and in the back end, we're going to include some PHP code. Though we do all those kind of things, in order to work with databases, you can't directly talk with PHP language with the database. So that you need to have a language which is possible for the database management system to understand. Right. So for that reason, we are making use of a language called SQL, which is quite old now. So SQL stands for Structured Query Language, something like pseudocodes. Now, pseudocodes are also more structured way of writing a program, like in English, like instructions. And SQL commands are more like, it's not like pseudocodes, but it's like English, but it's a bit technical. Okay. And you should understand it's a non-procedural language. That means you tell only what to do only. You don't tell how to do it. How to do part will be taken care by the database management system. Then SQL is very much easy to learn also, and it's very powerful, and it's a 4th generation programming language. Right. So SQL lets you access and manipulate database. That's very important. You can access as well as you can manipulate database. When it comes to manipulating, it's not only retrieving. Manipulating means you can make changes. It could be altering the details, or even it could be deleting, or you can replacing. You can migrating things. I will teach you before deleting a record how you can make a copy. Then you can delete these things. Then SQL became a standard of American National Standards Institute. That's called ANSI standards, American National Standards Institute. In Sri Lanka, we have SLS, like it's a standard. In 1986, remember, it's not invented in 1986. It was invented in 1979. And of the International Organization of Standard Organizations in 1987. So ISO as well as ANSI, both standards are there for that particular language. Okay. So what SQL can do? So because now if you ask what PHP can do, you know, it's a server-side scripting language. You know what PHP can do now. So far you have learned some features of PHP. If I ask you what a Java programming language can do, you can tell the features of Java programming language. So what kind of things can be done? Likewise, SQL, what it can do. So first of all, SQL can execute queries against a database. Query is a simply, in English, a query means a request, or it's like a question. So when you have a question or when you have a request, you are more likely to get answers, or you are more likely to get responses. So you can ask questions from databases and you can get responses from databases. So that is what basically SQL does. So can execute queries against a database. So I can run a sample SQL query and you can show you. I don't have much records. I will take a table and I'll practice and show you. Retrieve data from a database. You can so take data from a database, insert records in a database. You can create new records, update records in a database. Existing ones, you can make changes, delete records from a database. That means removing, create new databases using SQL commands itself. You can create databases. There are two types of commands, DML and DDL. I think you would have learned this one for DDD. So all or DML, DDD, and D. Okay, so data manipulation language and data definition language. Okay, data definition language. So so we are learning DML commands. We are not going to do data description language. We are not going to do any DDL. We're going to do data manipulation language commands. So then create tables. You can create stored procedures. We will see how to create them later. Stored procedures are like it's a way of executing multiple queries at a time and at the same time not letting the computer's performance go down. So using stored procedures that insert things and repeated jobs can be more effectively done. Then views are like already it is like how do you say, like it's like this. Now if I don't have views here, it's like a table. It looks like a table but it's not. What a view has is it has an SQL command. If I double click, at that moment it will pull information from tables and create a temporary table and show me. That is what is called a view. So we can do them. So because if you then finally you can set permissions on tables, procedures, and views. Once you set permissions, like so who can do what and what not, that can also be set. There are commands like revoke, grant. There are two commands like that. Grant means giving permission, revoke means if a permission can be removed. So those are the main things then SQL can do, right? Or these are the main things that SQL can do. So today we can't do the SQL commands. I can do a little bit of a demonstration of SQL commands. Next class, we have to properly do the SQL commands. As I told you, the 14 SQL commands we can do. That is one way. Or else what we can do is we can straight away directly start building the application. Then we can learn about the SQL. But learning SQL and going to the application is much better, I think, right? Give me a moment for you to practice, to demonstrate. Right, let's take a database of mine which already having information. No. This is some information about our IMA club. Some information is there. We can use this one. I need to find something properly, then only I can do it. We'll do this one, children. This is for a product database table. This is for the this one. this is their real website. So here you have around 600, 700 products, right? So I have many times I have shown this one. So this information, the same thing, I have the local copy also. So my local copy database does not have all the records. This is for testing purpose I have it. So db star. So we can write a command, SQL command on this, and we can do. So for example, these products are having some prices. These are rough product. I added some prices. Okay. So for a sample, I'll just show you what an SQL command can do. Next week, we are learning this one properly. Okay. So I can close these things. I can start a query, children, from here. A query window I can start, and the SQL commands we can type here, right? An SQL command I can type. So SQL command, you are not learning, I'm just showing you now, right? So you can type a command, like there are types of commands like select, insert, update, delete. So you can select. So I'm saying select means there are a lot of tables here. I tell the computer, okay, take records from product table. Select, you say from, you say select from table, right? Select from product. So once you properly type the name of the table, it changes the color. Then you have to, if you say select, sorry, I would say like this, wildcard I had to give, select all from product. That means all the columns will come. Now see, this area is blank. I can click this run button here or F9 on the keyboard. Then this place will get, what do you call, stuffed. So you can see all the records are coming. There are so many records coming. 43 records found. See, 43 records found here. Right. So this is, I'm existing database. I'm running something. So I'm not interested in everything, right? So just, there's a price column. We can do something. Let's say we want to see something, a product which is less than 50,000 rupees. Is there is a product. Okay. So we say select all from product. Then you can again give more conditions where price less than 50,000, right? 50,000. Then we need run the same query. So now you can see earlier 43 records. Now this time 37 records coming. So less than 50,000. There are 37 items are there here. This is not the full database, children. Huh? And certain products, they are giving price as 0, which means they don't want to display the price in the website. So that's what the meaning 0 means. Doesn't mean it's free. Okay, so if you put a price which is more than, we'll say, which is items which are more than 50,000. Let's try that. So there are a few products coming, 6 products coming, which are more than 50,000. Let's say any products which is more than 100,000. Right, let's try. So there we go. There are 4 products which are more than 100,000. So we can filter them like this. So here what it comes is a bunch of records. So I will teach you in PHP how you can handle this thing. We actually call this one as a resource. From the resource, we can extract records using a while loop. Then we will be working with each and every record. You can nicely display that on your screen. Now that is what happens. Now, for example, if I click this menu item and if I select, let's say, dining table chair, actually I'm passing in values. Now all of you watch the, if possible, watch the this area. I'm not sure whether it's clear enough. The status bar, if I hold that and if I hold it to dining table, it says show underscore product.php, sending parameter MCID. MCID means main category ID equals 1. Main category is 1. After that, I'm sending another category ID, which is SCID, which is subcategory ID equals 6. Then title equals dining. So main category, subcategory, and title equals dining. So if it is matching, it will show all the things. Now see, it comes like this. That products are, these are the 6 products which are matching in the database table. It shows, right? Okay, if we go here, so we will go for something like beds, and there are 5 products available. So it is, this is how it is presented to the customer. Okay, but when you simply execute SQL query, the output simply is like this. This is not usable by the user, or it is not user friendly to the user. You have to extract these things nicely and put it to a particular format the user can nicely view. If I click on this one, the big picture, the big one will come, the large picture will load. So this is stored separately. So all these photos I took, edited, then everything I have cut and removed the background and did this. So it's a very painful job I did anyway. Right. Okay. So other products also there. These products they have added actually. If you see, go to Panasonic, they are having products like these. They are adding products with the details. So most of the products they have at the price also. Okay, this database I don't have it with me, but if I log in online, I can access the database and show you as well. Okay. Right. I hope I made a small idea, or I gave you a good idea about the SQL commands to you. So any doubts, anything that is related to the things that we discussed? Do you want to talk much? I'm going to conclude the class from here. Next class we can continue from SQL commands. I'm going to teach you how to write select commands, type of select commands, how to write update commands, how to write delete commands, and so on and so forth. How to write insert commands also. Insert commands means how to add new records. Do you have any doubts?
Uh, so this particular SQL code you wrote now is considered a request command, is it?
Yes, Buddha. Yes. The select commands, when we write Atif, we are requesting something from the database table. Okay. We are extracting data from the database table. Whereas if you have a update command or an insert command or a delete command, actually in the delete, nothing happens, but update or insert, you are sending something from the application to the database. I'm glad that you asked that question. Uh, Give me a second like this, right? So if this is your app and if this is your database, so when you have a select type of a command, you are taking data towards the application to display. So when you have an insert command, sorry for the handwriting, insert, edit, or update, or delete kind of a thing, you are sending something from your application to the database. So that's how it works actually. Is that clear, Buddha?
Yes, okay.
Right. Any more doubts? Yes.
No, sir.
Okay, right. Then shall we conclude the class for today? And the next session, we will continue with this one. So go through the lesson and come. And operating instructions, please be ready because we will be creating proper tables next week because that's how we have to do. And adding, editing, deleting routines when I'm doing, you won't be able to practice along with me because it is a time consuming task. Anyway, I'm going to create a template like this now. I will already get it created before the class starts. I'll tell you my plan. I will have a thing created, a page which is already linked with Bootstrap and everything. Only thing I will have to create the form. So it will already look nice in the appearance. I will share that one with you so you can practice. As I told you, we are not worried about the UI. We're going to work on the backend code. So the backend, the code, if you're going to do it from scratch, it's going to take a lot of time for us to do. So what I'm requesting you to do is parallel with me. Now, for example, I am working on the, let's say we are doing an inventory control system. So when I am doing the product registration part, you can do the customer registration part. So same procedure, same thing that you're doing, but you're working on a different table. Or you can take another type of application, some different type of app. I'm doing an inventory control system. You can do a real estate business where I am registering products here. There you can register properties there. Something like that. Parallelly, you have to do, children. Otherwise, the practicing part won't happen. That's the issue. Okay, so overall if we take the Edmodo tasks also, less than 50% of you all only completed all the tasks. You are not completing properly, so please make sure you practice well, then only it will be working properly. And please ask your absentees guys, encourage them to join for the classes. If they're going to miss this one, then I don't know how they're going to build the applications and all, right? So regular commerce also missing. So I'm going to stop now. I'll stop the recording at least.